All right, so this is our real quick recap of the first 9 periods that we're studying in the Bible timeline system that we're doing. So first we come to the early world period, right? So in the early world period, we see creation. Through creation, we see God creating the first 3 days the realms. And the next 3 days, we see God creating the rulers for those realms. After creation, we see the creation, and the pinnacle of creation is man and woman through Adam and Eve. So in that, we see the covenant that God makes with Adam. This is the very first one of our covenants that we'll be following in the salvation history story here. So we see the covenant made with Adam, and then after that, we see original sin, right? So Eve gives in to the serpent. She falls in for the temptation. And in that, we see the 3 temptations that we all face in this world: lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and pride of life. These threefold temptations will constantly come back throughout this story. When we see somebody fall into sin, they're falling into at least one of these patterns, if not all of these patterns. After original sin, we see that God lovingly separates them from the garden, and he separates them from the tree of life, which was to give them immortality, because God doesn't want them to forever be separated from him. And so because of that, ultimately they're pushed out of the garden, but it's ultimately so they can be brought back totally in the fold with God. Next up, we come with the covenant with Noah. So God, in the wickedness in the world, God sends a flood to take out all the living beings. And in that flood, Noah and his family are deemed righteous, and they take in the animals in the ark, and they're to start over. So they're to create a new Eden. In that, God makes a covenant with Noah. But right after that covenant with Noah and they're back, we see the sin of Noah's sons falling into place. And once again, we see that sin entering the world. And through this sin, we start seeing it kind of spread more and more, the sin. It gets to the point where the men are thinking that they're so great, they're so grand, they're better than God, that they're going to build a really tall tower to the heavens. And this is where we see the Tower of Babel. So here in Genesis, when we're reading about the Tower of Babel, we see that God sins about that he confuses them with their language, and they're no longer all speaking the same language. In that process of Tower of Babel, we're going to see the reversal of that all the way down in salvation history at Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit comes and the apostles go out speaking. And as they're speaking, everybody's able to understand them. But at the Tower of Babel, that's when it was diverse, where all the different languages in the world were kind of created. From the Tower of Babel, we leave that part and we go into the patriarchs period, and this is the remaining book of Genesis that we read about the patriarchs period. And so we begin with the patriarchs period, looking at the covenant made with Abraham. And so this is our 3rd covenant now in salvation history. And with Abraham, God makes 3 promises. He'll make them a great name, meaning a great kingdom, a great dynasty, so his name will last forever. He'll give him land, such as a nation, and he will be a worldwide blessing. So these are the 3 promises. And so we're constantly looking throughout salvation history for the fulfillment of these 3 promises that God made with Abraham in the covenant. In the patriarch period, we come across a scene where Abraham comes across a guy named Melchizedek, and he is the priest king of Salem. So we learn what a priest king is. Also, Salem is later Jerusalem. And so we come across this character, and this is something that we're going to be looking at throughout salvation history. And what we see what a true king is, he's also a priest. When we come to Isaac, and then we go down to Jacob and Israel, right? And so Jacob, his name is changed to Israel, he has 12 sons. And these become known as the 12 tribes of Israel. So what part of his 12 sons, one of the sons is Joseph, and his brothers are jealous of him. And so his brothers ultimately sell him into slavery, and Joseph ultimately ends up in Egypt. Joseph ultimately is able to interpret the dream of the Pharaoh, and in interpreting the dream of the Pharaoh, Joseph is raised to high office, to like the prime minister, the second in command. And during that time, a severe famine hits the land, and Joseph's brothers are traveling to Egypt to try to find food for their family to take care of them. Joseph recognizes his brother. Joseph offers mercy and forgiveness to his brothers, and ultimately his family comes to stay in Egypt, which comes into play during our time of Egypt and Exodus. One of the things we notice with Joseph and his brother Judah and Joseph received the blessing of a priestly or kingly blessing from their father Jacob. So this is something we notice because 2 people receive a priestly kingly blessing. So we're going to see this through the 2 tribes in their history. Ultimately, the son Judah, the son of Israel, Judah is going to be the one that the line of Jesus ultimately is coming through. We're going to stop there and keep on going with Egypt and Exodus.